As a new or returning player, the sheer number of weapon damage talents in the Division 2 can be quite overwhelming. So in this video I'm going to tell you which is the best chest talent for weapon damage. Did you know that the wording of the talents is incredibly important when deciding which to use? If you look at them closely, you'll notice that 3 different types of wording are used. Firstly, there are those that increase weapon damage. Then there are those that increase total weapon damage. And finally, some that amplify damage. So why is this important? And for which one of those I just showed is the tooltip completely wrong? Well, the descriptions tell you how the talent fits into the weapon damage calculation. Now, I covered how damage works in this video here, which I will link in the description at the end. The key thing we need to know is which of the following damage modifier buckets the talent falls into. Weapon damage chest talents fall into just 3 buckets. This is important because multiplicative damage results in better damage output. In simple terms, what this means is it is better for talent to fill new and different buckets than it is to add more into the main weapon damage bucket, which is where all of the attributes on your gear and weapon go. And every source of amplified damage is its own bucket, which is important when considering the interplay with weapon and backpack talents. Looking at the buffs these talents provide, we can rank them as follows within their bucket. On the face of it, Headhunter is by far and away the strongest weapon damage chest talent, and for one-shot sniper builds, it absolutely is, which I've covered in this video, a link to which is in the description and at the end of this video. On paper, Focus would come in second, but in reality it is almost never used because of the time it takes to charge up and how it procs. Using an 8x scope on anything other than a sniper rifle is just not ideal, and Headhunter is much better on those weapons. Empathic Resolve is one of the best talents for healer support builds, providing a great team damage buff, but is pretty poor for solo players. Overwatch is also a solid talent for support builds, albeit the charge out time is only really relevant on harder content when you aren't speed running through it, while Spark is okay when running with a striker drone, but there are better options. Gunslinger is an interesting talent with a lot of potential when coupled with similar talents on backpack and weapons, but its weapon swapping trigger makes it just too cumbersome for most players. So that leaves us with the 4 most popular weapon damage talents: Spotter, Obliterate, Intimidate and Glass Cannon. When you read the tooltip for Intimidate, it doesn't look that impressive, but that is because in 6 months Massive have been unable to update it for the changes that they made to this talent. The correct version would be that for every second you have bonus armor, you gain 3 stacks up to a max of 9, so charge up time of just 3 seconds. The other thing that is wrong about the tooltip is that the buff it provides is to the multiplicative total weapon damage, not additive weapon damage. That is a fundamental difference, making this a very strong talent indeed. But that is not all, as the way it works is that each of the stacks is multiplicative with each other, so rather than the stacks adding together to get to a 36% buff, they actually multiply to deliver a little over 42%. Of course, there are 2 things needed for this buff to work. Firstly, it only works on enemies within 10 meters, and secondly, you need a source of bonus armor, which means a backpack talent like Adrenaline Rush or the Memento backpack, or a gear set like Heartbreakers. Whatever you decide to use, this is a talent that only works with close range run and gun builds, which typically use a shield to tank the damage and preserve the bonus armor. Glass Cannon comes in second on the potential damage output with its 25% amplified damage. What makes amplified damage so good is that it amplifies all damage sources to enemies, including your skills and status effects. The downside of the additional damage you take though means that this talent is rarely used in weapon DPS builds. Where it is more often seen is with skill builds, which lets you stay in cover, while your skills or status effects take the enemies down. Spotter also delivers 15% amplified damage, but without any of the downside of Glass Cannon. Many players who use this talent will run the Technician specialization for the Link Laser Pointer, proccing the talent on any enemy that they aim at. This also comes with a skill tier, letting your skills hit that little bit harder or take more damage. Because of this, Spotter is neck and neck with the most popular weapon damage chest talent, Obliterate. If you are running a weapon damage build, you will be looking to get close to the 6% critical hit chance cap, which means that getting this talent to max stacks takes on average only 42 shots, and once it is up, it only takes one critical hit every 10 seconds to keep it up. At 25%, its damage buff is second only to Intimidate of the most used DPS chest talents, but it works at any range and does not block the use of any backpack talents. Speaking of backpack talents, check out this video here to find out which backpack talent is the best for weapon DPS.